Well, hello. It is Wednesday and it is time to start. I did notice Ben is here in the chat. And if we don't get started right on time, Ben will let us know. Ben always does the countdown. And so when Ben does the countdown, I know I'm already late. So good to see you here, everybody. So thrilled. It is Wedding Hero Wednesday. And so I love to see so many heroes and heroines and heroes and heroes. Jillian said it so well. Hello, heroines and heroes. I agree. If you're here, you're a wedding hero, and I am so thrilled to spend this time again with you today. So, if you're new, if this is your first time, you've got a wedding coming up, or first time coming in here, whether you're watching live or on the replay, the agenda here is to, over the next half hour or so, read through my book, which is what we're doing here, which is all about how to run the ceremony planning session with your couple. This is such a crucial step. And so you just want to get that right. So on one hand, I'm teaching you, if you're not sure of all the many details that go into a wedding ceremony, you're learning that. But ultimately, we don't want you to just become this stagnant pool of wedding ceremony knowledge. No, we want that to flow through you like a healthy river. What am I doing with this analogy, metaphor thing? We want it to flow through you so you turn into a guide for your couple. And now I'm mixing metaphors, which you're not supposed to do. But basically, that's what happens when you go live. I want to help you learn this ceremony stuff so that you can sit across the table from your couple and guide them and help them through. So you'll see in the corner of the screen there, I do have the spreadsheet that I'm going to be working off of. If you go to unboringweddingacademy.com/spreadsheet, you can snag this. This is a thank you. It's in my book. Thank you for reading the book. It's also in stage 1 of my course, Unboring Wedding Academy, but you can get that and follow along as a thank you for being here with me live, because, of course, this makes my day when you are here. And as we go through together, Wedding Zero to Ceremony Hero. I said the name of my book correctly. That's I'm 1 for 1 today. We'll see what the average is when this is over. Chris wins for jumping in first. Chris from Ohio checking in at 41 minutes after the hour, a full 18 minutes and some seconds. He jumped in here. So Chris, love that you're here. Hope that you still are. Thanks for being here early and for waiting. Ben is here in North Dakota. And Ben, thanks for the weather report. As you know, if this is not your first time, we all check in and talk about the weather, which might be strange for people from California because the weather is almost the same all the time. But in Canada, whenever you meet somebody, you just talk about the weather. It's just the first thing you do. And so that's our custom here. I'm in New Brunswick, and it was a beautiful morning. I walked my daughter to school in the sunshine, and at 11 o'clock in the morning, bam, like a blizzard hit. It's just clearing now. And everything's going to melt, but that is the weather in Canada. It's kind of like Florida showers. You never know when they're going to hit, and it's kind of like that in the spring here. Happy spring, by the way, everybody. I think this is the first full day of spring, if not yesterday. So we're here. It's springtime, which usually means a lot more weddings are coming, and I'm thrilled to help you walk through this book and be ready for more planning ceremonies, wedding workshops or ceremony planning sessions, however you want to call them. We call them wedding workshops in Unboring Wedding Academy with our couples. Love that Ben here, off topic, also says he's doing an expo this weekend. That, of course, is where a venue will open up their doors, and you can, as a wedding vendor, purchase a table or a booth, and couples and family members and friends and wedding attendants and parties, they all kind of walk through and see the different offerings, whether it's bouquets or decorators or planners or venues or, yes, officiants. And I really encourage people to go if you're trying to get a business off the ground. It is not just about booking couples, although you may do plenty of that. You'll be interfacing with marriers, brides, grooms, people who are getting married, and their parties, but also all the other vendors are in the room. And so you, in those quieter moments or before or after setup, tear down, you can walk around and introduce yourself, as long as you're not being, annoying when people are busy, and say, hi, I'm such and such a planner. I've heard of you before, such and such. I'm an officiant. You're a planner. Nice to meet you. Talk about yourself. It is a great place to network in an instant. In one afternoon, you get to meet, I don't know, 10, 15, new 20 vendors, fellow wedding vendors of yours. That is a gold mine in itself. So I always encourage people to go to wedding expos if they are trying to be professional, if they are professional, well-established professional. I still do this. And so Ben is doing that. And as he said, get a small cocktail table because you don't want to hide behind a big table and just kind of cower. You want to be out there presenting yourself. Hi there. You've got an opening line to get into conversations with the merrier and talk about what you do, etc. I did a live about this on a Friday Live. Question of the week. I go live every Friday. What does a wedding officiant need for a wedding show? And so jump on that. Go check if you'd like. Search my channel. You can go into the live tab and see all my lives on replay. And there is one there about exactly what you need to do to have the most successful wedding expo as a wedding officiant. What do you need to do? What do you need to bring? How do you talk to people? Who do you talk to? All that good stuff. So thanks, Ben, for that, and all the best this weekend. Have a blast. Sabrina is here from Cali. She's bouncing around all over the continent. As long as it's a warm place, she's there. Good to see you. Lisa is here from sunny New Jersey. Rub it in. Hope it's a great day for you, LMC wedding officiant. Mike is here, and he's finalizing the love story for a ceremony on Saturday. Awesome, Mike. Thrilled for you. You are in for a treat. Bill is here at Lake Tahoe. Amazing. Snow is melting nicely. That means the wedding venues are crawling out from their hibernation, I'm sure, and it's going to be a great season there. Jeff from Westchester, good to see you. Doris from New Jersey, spring has sprung. Doesn't feel like it here, I agree. Jillian, greeting all the heroines and heroes of Wedding Hero Wednesday. Love that. Mark is here from St. Anne, Manitoba. It is hump day and the first day of spring. James is here. Happy spring. Sunny Wisconsin, 30 degrees Fahrenheit. Feels like 19. Man, it's cold out there. Okay, hopefully you batten down the hatches. Don't take your snow tires off yet. And Jamie's here from Mallorca in Spain. Oh my gosh, I bet you probably don't have too many snow problems out there, Jamie, I would imagine. Gary is here, and James is here. Mark, your wedding advice is spot on, James says. I'm reading this in real time, so I hope this goes well. If anyone is doing what I did and watch videos for a month prior to signing up, don't waste any more time. Sign up with Mark now. Thanks a lot, James. Like I say, I'm reading this in real time, but if you're telling people to join Unboring Wedding Academy and become members, where they get access to all my tools, my training, the love story caster, and soon to be a ceremony management system. I'm all for it. Thank you very much, James, and I'm so glad I got to serve you. And when you're a member for life. So, like it or not, James, you're once a member, always a member. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Chris is still here, good, in windy Ohio. Let's see. Oh, I got this again. Katha Maranatha. I'm getting better at saying it. Katha Maranatha. Happy Wednesday. 50 degrees on Long Island. Karen's here from Tampa, Florida, or Florida, serving the Tampa area. I know this because she is on unboringwedding.com/certified. Oh, Jillian had a blanket of snow in Ottawa. That's why Ottawa's my hometown, born and raised, never left Ottawa till I was 25. Then I got to taste other climes, and I said, I'm never going back. I'm never living in Ottawa. It is too extreme. It is sweltering, like 100 degrees in the summer and minus 100 in the winter, it feels like a lot of the time. Matt's here from Lancaster. Brenda is here from Las Vegas. Yesterday, I just announced that the speaker lineup for Wedding MBA in Las Vegas this November, it's up. It looks banging again. It's going to slap, as the kids say, which means I shouldn't say it. And that is in November. Wedding MBA, the largest wedding conference in North America. Grab tickets if you can. Use the discount code MARK. When you're getting tickets, type in the word MARK in the discount code box. So you get $20 off. I get to see you there. I'll be speaking again. I take members of Unboring Wedding Academy out to dinner, and it is a blast. A few days in Vegas in November. Latina's here from San Antonio. Booked an upscale 200, 400 guest wedding today, fresh off. That is amazing. I have never officiated a wedding that big, but hey, San Antonio, right? Everything's bigger in Texas, right? So that's probably average. That's amazing, Latina. I'm so happy for you. Carol is here. She made it. Are you still in, let's see, oh no, back from Costa Rica. I just had to go down. You are back from Costa Rica. And Jillian says, did you marry anyone? Did you find anyone while you're on vacation, Carol, to just say, hey, you two, get hitched? Okay, so Katha Maranatha says, I'm good at saying it, but no need to shorten it to Katha. Yeah, no, there's no fun in Katha. I like Katha Maranatha. It's a challenge. It's fun to say, especially when you master it. So that's the good stuff. Karen's ready for the ceremony management system. Well, I just got off a call with the developers today, a team of 7 people on Google looking back at me, and I was vetting the process. It is a beautiful thing where you do not have to copy and paste and send a script and receive answers, blah, blah, blah. It just guides you through the steps. You just log into the program in your browser, move through the steps. It keeps it all organized for you. It is a dream. You got the gimme hands. I've got weddings too this summer, and I'm like, when is this thing ready? So I cannot wait to share that with the world. It's going to be amazing. Yeah, Ottawa has so many romantic settings. I love Ottawa. The canal, downtown, oh my gosh, Dow's Lake. It is a gorgeous city. The National Capital Commission does a great job. But man, that climate, I just couldn't get over that climate. Take my money, Karen says. When the time is right, Karen. Natalie from South Lake Tahoe. Awesome. Okay, let's get into the task at hand here. It is a party, but it's not just a party. We've got to get to work. So I am going to flip over. Natalie's getting crazy bookings this summer. That's awesome. I'm going to flip over to the document here. Let's get our bearings. Where were we last week? This is our spreadsheet that we use that we bring into the planning meeting with our couple. I had somebody reach out to me this week and say, what kind of computer should I get as a wedding officiant? Laptop or desktop? And I said, oh my gosh, laptop for sure, because for 10 years, I've been bringing my laptop in with my couples. Now, I didn't have this spreadsheet for 10 years, and I'll reflect on that in the book a bit today, where I developed this spreadsheet and I developed the order of the questions over years and years and years. But now you definitely want to bring your laptop into this meeting, fill this out as you work with your couple so that it's done, so that then you can copy and paste all that information into the script and make the script from it. And of course, our wedding ceremony software will take that step out, where we're designing it so that when you fill this all out, it ports over into the script automatically. So when you do this step, the script is basically almost already done, in the sense of you can go in and edit it a bit, but names and order and elements, oh my gosh, it'll all be there already. So don't create extra hurdles for yourself by, I don't know, writing the notes on a napkin or something, or even a notepad, and then having to transcribe it. Use this spreadsheet. You got all the information there. You can copy and paste information, move it into your script. So where are we? Cast of characters. This is week 7. So we're 7 weeks in. If you haven't watched the previous 6 weeks, maybe go do that now and come back and catch this on the replay. No, stay for the party live, but go back and don't miss the other 6 versions, okay? We covered all the people who are in the ceremony, the microphones, 15 minutes before the ceremony, all those details. Now we are in the ceremony kickoff section of the spreadsheet. Okay. And what I want to talk to you today is essentially we're getting into Shutter processional stuff. And the reason why I say that is, and I say this in the book, so if you're following along, we're on page 47 in the hard copy, and that is for Brainstorm, the elements of the ceremony. This is chapter 4. But we are essentially getting into the real messy stuff. And I say, I've got it underlined right here, figuring out how we're all getting to the front can be the most time-consuming part of the whole workshop. So a lot of the times, sequentially, we feel like when we're having this meeting with our couple, okay, we're about 20 minutes in now after doing all the other stuff. Then we get to the processional stuff, and the meeting grinds to a halt. Now, do you remember what we promised them off the top? We promised our couple this will only take 1 hour. So a lot of time when we get to this part and they're like, it's been 20, 25 minutes and we're only at the processional. Oh my goodness, this is going to be a 2-hour meeting. And you might feel that way too as the officiant. What I say here is, if I see that look in their eye, or it's not a simple answer when we take them through some of these questions, I say, don't worry, this is the most time consuming part of the whole meeting. It's a lot more time consuming figuring out who's walking in when and how they're going to stand and all that stuff than, hey, do you want a hand fasting or not? Hey, how am I going to pronounce you? Hey, a lot of those are yes or no questions. How are you going to say your vows? Of course, they already answered that earlier on. Who's got the rings and the ring exchange? That stuff is pretty quick compared to the total you-know-what show of planning a processional, okay? So don't get discouraged as the officiant by this step, and assure your couple as well, this can be the most time-consuming part. And I've seen, couples have to take out napkins if we're meeting at Starbucks or something and start to diagram how they're standing, and that's all okay. I've taken to, pulling out my moleskin and saying, here's a page with my pencil. Why don't you use that? But sometimes they do have to think hard about it. And early on, before I developed this system, I talk about how in the book, I would just say, okay, we're at the processional part, and just kind of look at them like, how do you want the processional to go? And that would lead to two extremes. One would be, oh, we don't want a processional. We'll just come to the front and get things started. I don't want to walk into the music, the bride would say. How about the two of us just come up and you kick it off? And I would say, okay, done, check, that was easy. Couple of questions about when, do you want to come into music? Do you want me to but essentially it's a 30-second conversation. The other extreme, though, I talk about was with Jessica and Prashant, who, for example, I said, how do you want the processional to go? And Jessica said, oh, my 7 friends, bridesmaids, and she lists them all off. And I said, okay, Prashant, how about you? And he lists off 7 guys, 2 of whom had the same name, so different last initials. I said, okay. And he said, no, he was being a bit cheeky. I have a few more. And he proceeded to list a total of 11 people, Mandeep and Sandeep, and duplicate names with different initials. And then I said, okay, so we got 11 on one side, 7 on the other. Okay, that'll be an interesting challenge. And then they said, oh, we have 2 flower girls as well. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm just kind of making notes. This is pre-spreadsheet and pre-3 questions off the top that I'm going to teach you today. And then, of course, we want Jessica's brother coming in during the processional, but he's not part of the wedding party. We would like him to come in somehow. Okay. And then, of course, we want our mothers. We want our 2 mothers to come in, preferably with escorts, and we want them in the procession. We want them in the processional, not before. Oh, okay. And I mean, I'm starting to bead with sweat at this time because I didn't have a kind of logical system of walking people through this process. And so I'm overwhelmed with details. They're throwing all this stuff at me. 7 and 11, how are we going to have that? And then they said, well, we're thinking, 2 bridesmaids and 1 groomsman, but then sometimes, of course, 2 groomsmen and 1 bridesmaid. And it ends up being quite a hairball that you have to disentangle, which means your prospects of keeping this to 1 hour are lowering by the second, and you're feeling overwhelmed, and they're looking at you, and you're trying to figure it all out. So that's when I realized I need a better system of getting to what the couple want in a systematic way. And that's where I developed what I call, that's why these are in boxes. If you're following along here, in the ceremony kickoff section, these first 3 questions. So we're going to see if we can finish this section today, although I highly doubt it, given that it's already 19 minutes after the hour. These are the 3 questions that I use to kind of narrow the focus of the couple and get to what it is they want, okay? So we don't want our couple to feel paralyzed by all the choices. We don't want to feel overwhelmed by, like Jessica and Prashant, no fault of theirs. They're just dumping all this information on me. And I'm just like, okay, whoa, let's back up. Wait a second. Okay, so we want to approach this in a very manageable way. That's the goal here, so that we're in control. We're getting what information we need when we need it, and we are filling out this spreadsheet in a in a way that we can follow and get what we need. Okay, so the first question here, we want to find out how they want to start the ceremony, and we also want to find out how they don't want to start it. And that really is the goal of those first three questions. That's why I call them process of elimination questions, where you can start a ceremony in 100 different ways, but you don't want to say to your couple, how do you want to start the ceremony? I say, okay, we're going to talk about your processional now. Don't worry, this is probably going to be the longest bulk part of the meeting. Let me ask you three questions before we get into the nitty gritty of what you're envisioning for your processional, okay? And they say, okay. Again, that's when they know, okay, we're in good hands here. And that's what I want for you, even if it's your first time being here today or you've never officiated. I want your couple to feel like they're in really good hands with you. So the first question you ask is anyone escorting partner B down the aisle? Now, I'm going to be honest with you here. As I recreate some of these tools for our new ceremony management software, I think I want to add another question here, only because things are kind of changing in weddings. And this would be a shock to everybody and any member. But I've thought, I think I want to stop taking for granted that one person is going to come down the aisle. Even though 90% of the weddings that's still happening, I would add another question here right above this row, which is anyone walking down the aisle? Is either of the marriers? See, I'm thinking about this in real time here. Are either of you walking down the aisle in the processional? Sometimes, again, with same-sex weddings, both of them might. Or sometimes, like as I said off the top, some couples say, no, neither of us really want to do that. Again, it's very rare, but it is happening. And anytime you see something like that starting, it could become more common. So right now we're taking it as an assumption that one of the marriers, bride or groom, is walking down the aisle. That's the first assumption, but I don't like to assume anything in this process, which, like I say, is why I might want to add, because of those rare instances, and I don't want to take anything for granted. Just like I talked about with parents, don't say, which of your parents are coming? You say, are there any parents attending this wedding? That way we're not taking it for granted or assuming that parents are coming, because parent politics can be very difficult or strange or complicated. Same thing here. I think I'm getting away from wanting to assume that one of the marriers is walking down the aisle. Let's assume, as much as I don't like to right now, that somebody is. Then you say, is anyone escorting partner B? And remember earlier I said you can swap in partner B in this spreadsheet. Just type the bridesmaid. Partner B I have as the traditional place of bride here. But I've done gay weddings where one gentleman is up at the front and one gentleman wants to do the walk as per that traditional role. We talked about that in previous weeks. So is anyone escorting partner B down the aisle? We're assuming partner B is coming down the aisle as part of the processional, or marrier B, one of the marriers, as we use those interchangeably. And this is the first question. And sometimes, if I'm sitting with a bride or groom, the bride will say, no, I would like to walk in alone, which, boom, okay. Right away, we narrowed down a lot. We got a lot out of the way. Or, yes, my dad is walking me down the aisle. Or, yes, both my parents will be walking me down the aisle. My brother will be walking me down the aisle. They have different answers. I've done all of the above of those. And so that's the first thing we know. Right off the bat, we've narrowed the crescendo of the processional, where the main marrier is going to come down the aisle. Who are they with? They'll tell you right here. If they've never thought about it, which is highly unlikely, this is where they'll say, oh, I haven't thought about that. I don't want either of my parents to do it, or they won't be there, or yes, or my brother, or no, I'd like to come in alone. Great, we've settled that. Now the next question is partner A's party, again, partner A, traditionally groom. You can Command F and swap those names out if you want. So if this is Greg, is Greg's party, or just swap it out, is Greg's party walking in the processional? Okay, so again, we might traditionally say groomsmen, although now we just say party or wedding attendants, because a lot of, women are in the men's side and vice versa, men in the women's side. So is partner A's party walking in the processional, or just partner B's? What this means is, this is crucial to narrowing down the questions we need to ask next. Again, Jessica and Prashant, we're like, we have 7 and 11, and we want some to do this and some to do that. The process of elimination question here is, At the start of the ceremony, do you want in the processional just partner B's party walking in alone? So think traditionally a long, sequential single file with a gap of bridesmaids, for example, with groomsmen already there. I would say, here in New Brunswick, that's 80% of the ceremonies I do. The groom's party are already up with me and with the groom when we start, and the processional is just bridesmaids, just the bride's party, the bride's attendants. Sometimes, though, again, I'd say 20% of the time, they come in pairs. So it will be both members of the wedding party, two by two. Sometimes they'll be staggered because of uneven numbers, for example. So, partner A's party member walks, then partner B's, then partner A's, then partner B's, kind of like gears. They're just coming one after another. Or, as I said in the case of Jessica Prashant, they knew we want two bridesmaids with one groomsman walking down, but then we'll have to change it up every now and then for two groomsmen and one bridesmaid. And okay, so we're going to get there, but the first thing we want to do to even know to ask that question is partner A's party already up there? Partner B, no, yeah, partner A's party, are they already up there? Or are they walking in with partner B, kind of two by two, or a combination of numbers? They will be able to tell you that. That part's easy. Even if they've never thought about it. Oh, I don't know. I've seen the couple. What do you think? Do you want them already standing? Do you want them I didn't envision them coming down the aisle. I envision them okay. So within 10 seconds, typically, they'll be able to tell you. This is one of those ones where you don't want to say, well, we'll put a pin in it and decide later. I make them decide now because the processional is so involved. I want to be there with them. I want to shepherd them through this process as we're going to unpack together, okay? And then number 3 is their special honorary seating for parents or grandparents. This, of course, like Jessica Prashant, they wanted their moms in the processional. So what I do is I explain here, there's 2 kind of times that we can have parents or even grandparents take their seats. I tell them, I'm going to give opening remarks. I'm going to have a moment with the guests, with the crowd, warming them up. Are you ready for these two to get married? I turn off your phones, turn off your, we don't want any ringers. You may take pictures. That's further off down here. See, opening remarks, we're going to get there. But right off the top, I'm going to give those opening remarks, which means we can have right before my opening remarks, I'm going to go up there, and this is when I explain to them. So as I'm explaining to you right now, I explain to them. I'm going to walk up there. I can walk up there with partner A's attendants, some of the groomsmen say traditionally, and then that's when we can have some parents or grandparents seated formally right before I give those opening remarks. The processional is going to come after my opening remarks. Okay, so this is what I explained to them. And if that was news to you, you should know that. The opening remarks are done before the pomp and ceremony and, tears of the processional starts. Everybody's anticipating. Typically, I'll walk up there with some groomsmen, say, sometimes alone. But then I kick it off. Good afternoon, everyone. Are you ready? Etc., etc. I've hinted at that before. I have videos on my YouTube channel about how to kick off the ceremony, how to give opening remarks. You're establishing that rapport. And then then the processional starts after that. Now we have a choice. You can put parents in the processional, but the vast majority of couples don't want parents in the processional. Depending on the culture and what they've seen on TikTok, that's different. But you want to give them the option. If the parents are not in the processional, or say dad is escorting bride as is traditional, what do you do with mother of the bride? Well, typically, mother of the bride would be seated by, say, a best man or the brother of the groom. And they can do that right before you give your opening remarks. So there's typically music playing before the ceremony. I'll be at the back. I will march up with some attendants, say, they unfurl across the front. I just smile at everybody. I don't say anything. And then, groom comes in, seats his mom, joins at the front, and a best man then comes in and seats mother of the bride and takes his place, or vice versa on those. But this is the time to ask, is there special honorary seating for a parent, again, mother of the bride who doesn't have a job because father of the bride is in the processional? Groom's parents don't typically have anyone to escort. So maybe when you get up there and smile as the officiant, the parents of the groom, just the two of them, they don't need an escort. Maybe they come in and seat themselves. But a lot of grooms say, actually, I want to walk in with both my parents. And so maybe mom on his arm and dad next to him. You don't really typically want them both on each arm. So you'll have, the groom escorting his mom with his dad, and the three of them come. He kind of drops them off, then joins. Then you give your opening remarks. So this honorary formal seating, just to be clear, happens before the opening remarks. Then the officiant opening remarks happen. Then we get into the processional proper, okay? That's the order of that. So those are my 3 process of elimination questions, because, like I say, it can be so overwhelming. And maybe you felt that way as I was talking. If it's your first time, you're like, oh my God, wait, there's so many moving parts here. Slow down, slow down. That's why I like to do this in a very systematic way. With Jessica and Prashant, that example in the book, they wanted everybody in the processional. Nobody came in before the opening remarks. So I walked in alone for the opening remarks. Are you ready for these two to get hitched, etc., etc.? Turn off your phones, all the announcements. Let's begin. Then everybody was in the processional. Even the brother who wasn't part of the attendants, he walked in and he sat down. The mothers were in the processional, everything. So they might make it kind of easy on you that way. But a lot of time they'll say, can we have, both mothers seated before the processional or before the opening remarks? Can the one of the marriers be up there already, or the entire party? So that's what you want to think about in terms of, is anybody escorting you down? That's one thing. We get our headspace. Okay, the marrier, the bride, has an escort, and it's her brother. Then partner A's wedding party. Are they already up there, or are they coming into the processional? 2 different scenarios and 2 different questions that need to be asked, or courses of questions that need to be followed depending on what they want there. And then third, is there special honorary seating for parents or grandparents? Do we want to seat them before the opening remarks, which often means having an escort, maybe one of the groomsmen dropping them off. Maybe that groomsman stays up because the rest of them are going to be there when the ceremony starts. Or maybe that means dropping them off, going around the aisle and rejoining the lineup because they're escorting one of partner B's attendants as well. There's different little tweaks on that, and we are definitely going to get there farther down in this sheet. See, we got processional, full order of family and friends. In fact, already down here we have order of partner A's party entry. Okay. And so that is where we want to start thinking about the order that they're going to walk in is typically determined by the order in which partner B's party walks in and how they stand. And that is, like I say, where things get really thick in the conversation. And once we're beyond that, it's very, very easy. What song do you want? This is where, when we get to the processional, a lot of that work was already done up here. And then some more questions about elements and things like that, which we are going to get to in later weeks. Okay, so hopefully it was helpful for you to hear how we don't start with a big hairball on the table and try to figure out how to disentangle it. I like to ask those 3 systemic questions. So it's kind of like focusing the tip of the spear. We know what's happening, we know what they want, and we, more importantly, know what's not happening. We can get rid of lots of options. If she says, yes, both my parents are escorting me down the aisle, then okay, we don't have to think about how does the mother of the bride get to the seat, because mother of the bride is walking her in. And every question like that has a whole bunch of options that, okay, now we can just drop, thankfully. Okay, hopefully that made some sense to you and helps. This is not a sprint. This is a marathon. It is already 34 minutes after the hour. So that's as far as we could cover today. Was those 3 questions? I suspected as much. Next week we'll talking about how the officiant gets in there, the order of how is partner A getting in there, what is the order of partner A's party, which, like I said, is often determines the processional party as well. And so it's kind of like both and that you start banging out there together. But because you have eliminated so many options, you are moving down the path in a very manageable way in this conversation with those 3 process of elimination questions, which we have right off the top when we start talking about ceremony kickoff. Any questions here? Lisa says, who comes first? This is your time to get questions in before we pop off. Bride's mom or groom's parents? So traditionally, it's a great question. Bride's mom or groom's parents? Traditionally, a wedding ceremony worked up to the most important person, which of course is the bride. That's kind of like the crescendo, right? And so that's always true, is the more important the person and the ranking, the later that person would enter. So because the bride outranks the groom traditionally, the mother of the bride outranks the groom's parents traditionally. And I always say traditionally because so much has changed. We are not necessarily beholden to these mores anymore. You can change anything. That's really, really important to know. And so right off the bat, like, you should know, the answer is technically the groom's parents would come first because we are moving up to the most important person. The most important person is last. So at this point, like I say, a lot of time the groom will come in. But once you get the groom being escorted or escorting someone, you have questions around that. For example, I have taken to telling the couple, it makes more sense for, groom to be up there already, maybe first, when some parents are escorted down, because you want to see that. You want to see them take their seats. But what if the groom's parents just want to come in, take their seats, and then groom walks in and takes his place? That could work, but I prefer it when it's happened, when the groom says, I don't want to walk with my parents. The groom maybe comes up, stands there, then the groom's parents walk in together. And again, it's always a matter of preference. Some parents say, I don't need you to escort me. That would be weird. It depends on the relationship and how they feel with each other. But then if that were to happen, if groom were already up there and then his parents walk in the aisle right before the procession, like before the opening remarks, they're not part of the processional, then it's nice if the groom goes and gives them a hug and stuff, even if groom didn't walk with them, to greet them when they get to the front of the aisle. Nice hug, which makes sense for him to already be there. So it's helpful to know what the rules are or the tradition, but also a lot of the time you want to be like, I don't feel like that's great, that so-and-so is seated first. Would you seat the mother of the bride before the groom comes in and seats his parents and joins? I feel like that maybe makes a little bit more sense depending on the context, but I really I also know that when you run those options by your couple, they will not say, what's the traditional rule? They will say, oh, I really like the idea of, my mom being walked in, bride might say, by the groomsman. He takes his place, and then groom walks in with his parents, drops them off, and joins. That just makes more sense optically. And I say the same thing usually. It's strange to have the groom come up, even if he escorted his parents, but then the best man slot is empty because he's seating the mom. Typically, it's just better to have them do it first, then the groom, who, kind of outranks the mother of the bride, because, it's like bride, groom, parents of the bride, parents of the groom. Maybe it doesn't make sense to have them come in first or second, depending on what they like. So that's something you want to hit your couple with. As guides, we give them the option. We just want to explore the options with them, and that's where it's, even if it's your first time, you feel like it's overwhelming. That's why I just call it brainstorm the elements. That's why I call it a workshop. We are working together on options. And again, I've said this before, in the age of TikTok and social media and weddings being shared online, there's no way you can know everything. For example, a lot of couples are asking their officiants to stand off to the side now, or even had just somebody say they stand in the aisle. And so there's no way, if I got hit with that, I'd be like, wow, I've never heard of that. I've never done that. So that's why it's called a workshop. And that's why we are working together to brainstorm the elements and arrive at the best solution to facilitate their vision. You are not expected to be a know-it-all as the officiant. Just explore the options of who comes in first here, who comes in second. Here are the options. Which one do you like better? I find myself doing that a lot with couples, and they know. That's why I said off the top of this workshop with them, I say, we'll find out what you know, we'll find out what you don't know, and what you like and what you want. That is super important. Their wedding, you've heard me say it 100 times, if you heard me say it once, it's their wedding. We are here to facilitate their vision, okay? Let me see. How do we acknowledge loved ones that are not here anymore? Great question, Mark. So right after the processional, the tension builds. I think I've got some videos on this. The tension builds in the processional. People are crying. It's beautiful. My goodness, I've come to close to the edge of tears on a lot of processionals. But the couple get in front of you and they hold hands, and then you say, oh, I say this all the time. Well, friends and family, here they are. Sam and Alex are here today. Finally, they're here today to get married. Can we give it up? And everybody cheers. Oh, I say, are they perfect for each other? Are they perfect for each other? And they're just perfect for each other. Can I get an amen? I don't say, are they perfect? I say, they're perfect for each other. Can I get an amen? And a big cheer happens. And so that is how I start every ceremony, because a lot of time, the marrier who was walking down the aisle was outside and they were hearing the cheers of the opening remark. They knew some fun was happening. The processional is not filled with mirth and laughter. Typically, it's very moving, as it should be. But when they're in front of you, holding hands, and you're getting the ceremony underway, this is where I always want to crack right into, break the ice again. And so I'm still answering your question, Mark. They're here today. They are perfect for each other. Can I get an amen? Or if it's kind of a more rowdy crowd, I'll say, can I get a hell yeah? And everybody cheers. And then I say, today is and this, to answer your question right off the bat, after I get that cheer, that laughter, that whoop, that's where I commemorate the loved ones. You will see that coming up on the spreadsheet. It is right there as one of the elements that I ask. So stay tuned for probably to get there by week 10 or something like that, when we get into the actual elements. After we plan the processional, the opening remark questions, the question of the escort, who gives this woman traditionally, is there something else? Who has the flowers, who's going to smooth the dress? Those are all cells coming up on that spreadsheet. Then, right off the bat of the elements, I ask them, has any significant member of the family passed away recently whose absence will very much be felt? Okay, there's a way to ask that question in a discreet way. And I ask it that way because typically you don't want, generations of people we've lost. But the opposite is true. Sometimes, I've had couples where they lose like their mom, like 2 weeks before the wedding workshop. And I asked, do you want me to say anything? And they say, it would be too devastating. So we're going to have a chair, we're going to have a candle, we're going to have her picture. But actually, no, we don't want you to say anything. And I say, are you sure? And they say, no, I would just start to cry and I wouldn't be able to pick myself up off the floor. So that is, I love that you asked that question. It is essential to every wedding ceremony. When do I do it? Right after the procession, when they're in front of me, I ask, they're perfect for each other. Can I get an amen? Cheer, cheer, cheer. And before I get into the story, so if they don't elect to commemorate someone, I'll say, let me tell you, how did these two end up meeting? How did they meet, fall in love, choose to spend? I'm going to tell you the story. Then I tell the story. So right there, that's a sweet spot. I'd say today is a day of tremendous joy and celebration. And at the same time, we are mindful of Sam's mother, Susan, who cannot be here. And it gets somber and it gets serious. Usually there's some tears wiping away. But man, we need to commemorate and memorialize those people right off the top. And usually they say, don't make it a second memorial service. We don't want a second funeral. Just invoke them, indicate our appreciation and the fact that we're thinking of them, and then get into the fun stuff. That is what almost every couple has asked of me. Awesome question, Mark. Love that you're thinking about that, okay? Lisa, who comes in first? Who comes in first? I think we got there. Just making sure I didn't miss any questions, but now is your chance. Any other questions I saw. Is there an ETA on the release of the management system? Oh, officiantly not boring. Okay. That is quite a question. So the ETA is June-ish. They're making great progress on it now, but it's a matter of testing and how smooth and how user-friendly it is. And I've mentioned this before. Everybody inside Academy will get one free ceremony at this, and then it'll be a subscription model, an annual licensing fee to use this for an unlimited number of ceremonies. So I'm hoping to get the free one crack at it, one ceremony, because again, I'm designing this so that it's part of the course for anybody who buys the course and just thinks they're doing a one-off. I don't want them to have to do the copying and pasting, all the stuff we're doing now. I don't want them to have to do that anymore. I want the one-off friend or family member to be able to use this software. It's integrated as part of my course and part of my training. And so anybody else who wants to keep using it as a professional, more of an annual licensing model where you get to use it for an unlimited number of ceremonies. So that's how that's going to work. Let me see. Latina says, okay, there's chatting here. Mark, are you in Audible? I use Audible. I'm wondering why you're asking that. Are you asking if my book? Oh, you must be asking if my book is on Audible. No, it is not. I have definitely thought about it, which means I'd have to read it myself. It's a whole thing. I've looked into it. It's quite a thing, but I could do it. And I'll add it to the list of many of the things that I should be doing. More podcasts. People want to hear more love stories, Unboring Wedding Day love stories. I did like one season of that, and I should do more, et cetera, et cetera. There's always more I can be doing. Can we have more hours in a day, please? Unfortunately, I need a good solid 7.5 hours of sleep in order to feel like a human being who's alive. If I could only figure out how to sleep once or twice or become a vampire, I'd be so much more productive. Great questions, everybody. Thank you so much. Love spending Wednesdays with you, but this is getting a bit long. So I want to pop off here. I will be back here on Friday talking about, I keep getting asked, what do I do differently for a same-sex wedding? The answer is one word. I'm gonna leave you in suspense. There are some things to consider, but really, it's a short one-word answer. But I'm looking forward to exploring that with you on Friday live. The officiant question of the week. If you can make it, I'd love to see you there. Thank you so much for joining me today. Again, if you'd like to become a member, like so many awesome people in the chat here, if it's your first time, unboringweddingacademy.com, you can check out what it's like to become a member there. You're a member for life. It's a one-time fee. You just pay for the course. You get the love story caster, which is included, writes your couple's love story for you. You are going to get access to the process of the ceremony management system. And you get access to me, coaching, the membership community, et cetera, et cetera. It's all good things. And so explore that if you want. I have a business course, unboringweddingacademy.com/pro. And that is all about how to get your own business up and running, your officiant practice specifically. It's all about how a professional officiant does contracts and gets found and interacts with clients. And as Ben said off the top, goes to a wedding expo. How does all that happen? It's all my training, everything you need to know, copywriting, branding, professionalism with clients, all that good stuff. Okay. Chris, you are a member. I love it. I shot you a buongiorno. I love that you're here for the first time on a live as a member. Super, super pumped about that. You are in for a real treat when you officiate. Diana's here. Hey, good to see you. Good thing we're on the replay. I will catch you on Friday if you can make it. And if not, next Wednesday for session 8 of Wedding Zero to Ceremony Hero, Wedding Hero Wednesdays. Thanks. As Jillian said, heroines and heroes. I will see you then. Have a great, I was going to say weekend. It's only Wednesday. It's hump day. See you Friday. Marry on, everybody. Thanks a lot.